Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the Sota stream. We are live here with Cory Provus, the Twins radio play-by-play. But how's it going, Cory? How have you been handling things without baseball? I mean, that's pretty much your life during the summer. How have you been? How have things been going?
Yeah, it's different. A day like today, I guess the Twins would have been out west today. But anyway, just being around town with good weather and not going to the ballpark is just unusual. It's one thing if it's December and you're home and it's gnarly outside. Well, you don't belong at the ballpark, right? But the weather that we've had here the last couple of weeks, it's made me thirsty for baseball. But look, I get it. It's baseball. It's a sport. It's a passion that people have. It's a profession for many, but human life comes first. So let's work on getting the testing up. Let's work on hopefully getting a vaccine in the near future, because baseball will come back. We have to come back safely.
I mean, what are specifically your expectations, in your opinion, of the shortened season, or what would you like to see?
Well, I mean, if you asked me a month ago, I would have been pretty pessimistic on baseball coming back this year. But the momentum seems to be building almost daily that baseball is going to come back in some way. What it's going to be, where it's going to be, how long it will go, how many games they'll play. That's the unknown. But I really believe that baseball will be played at some point here this summer. Now, whether we start in June, whether we start in July, we play 80 games, 100 games, that I couldn't tell you. But I feel much better today about games coming back than it did even a few weeks ago.
Cool. Now, there's a lot of options for the alignment of the divisions. There's a 10-team division we've seen, the Grapefruit and Arizona League, whatever that is, the Cactus League. What do you think bodes well for the Twins?
I don't like the split plan. One of the first ones that came out was, I guess Arizona came out first, then the idea of the Cactus League and the Grapefruit League having their own, schedule. I didn't think that was a smart play, because if we're trying to limit the proximity around each other, I don't see going to Florida and, if you're in Fort Myers, being on a bus for 3.5 hours and then maybe come home for 3 games, 4 games, but then go back across the state for 2 hours to go to Jupiter. I don't see how that works. So I think the idea of a Florida and an Arizona plan, that to me didn't make a whole lot of sense. What I'm starting to think may happen is that I think some cities will be able to play in their own ballparks. That I think that maybe we'll get to a point, it's a big maybe, that teams can still play in their home cities. No fans. I don't think we'll see fans at all this year. But then could we see like a National League Central take on an American League Central division? And would we keep the travel, down if we do that? You'd play, the bulk of your games in your division, but then you'd play outside your division and you'd play the NL Central to keep the travel down. So I could see that being a roadmap to get play going somehow, some way. But the idea of the Arizona and Florida thing, even the full-time Arizona thing that first came out, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I was saying when I first saw that, I did not know how that would work still with the social distancing stuff like that. I don't think moving it to one state or one area would necessarily resolve a lot of the issues. You'll have all the teams and a lot of people still in one area. So I just don't. That would just be hard for me to see. As much as fans want baseball, I think that was just kind of far-fetched.
And those
so I was on a call yesterday with the Twins president, Dave St. Peter, and manager Rocco Baldelli, and also the president of baseball operations, Eric Falvey. And the idea that came out, I think the most recent idea was that Texas would be a hub, and Arizona would be a hub, and Florida would be a hub, and you'd have 10 teams in Arizona, 10 teams in Texas, and 10 teams in Florida. And that was reported, I think, in USA Today. And what I heard yesterday was that when the commissioner, Rob Manfred, read that story, that's the first he's ever heard of that idea. So that was something that seemed to be pretty new to him. And I'd imagine that there are 3 ideas we've heard, maybe 4. I'd imagine there are 10 ideas that they're tossing around that we haven't yet found out about and how to play out. But trust me that what I think has been reported, do I think that will exactly be how it will be? No, I still think that things are going to be tweaked before we come up with the end plan.
Okay. Now we're gonna switch gears a little bit. Before you worked for the Twins, you did some post-game and pre-game stuff for the Cubs. How was it covering games at Wrigley?
It was amazing. It was something that I, as a kid growing up, that's where I fell in love with baseball. Was, I'm 41 years old, but my first team was the 1984 Cub team.
Yep.
That was my first team that I can recall all the players and who was where. And as excited as I was to go to Wrigley for a handful of games, wasn't there too often, but a handful of games, to see Ryan Sandberg, to see, Jody Davis, to see Keith Moreland, to see, Gary Matthews, I wanted to see Harry Carey. And and you see the stretch and you see this big face, these big glasses come out of the booth in the seventh inning. And I thought, man, that's pretty cool. That's a neat way to go about this if you can. So that to me was it was a dream come true. I got a chance to work on Cubs games. The team was good. I was 28 years old, and to travel the country with my favorite team, to sit on the same airplane with Derek Lee and Alfonso Soriano and Carlos Zambrano was a dream. I thought I would never leave, and then I was there for 2 outstanding, fun years before the next opportunity came up with Milwaukee in 2009.
Yeah, and I saw that you had a tweet that you retweeted that tweet last night when Kerry Wood, I believe it was, he had got his 30-second save, clinched the National League division for the Cubs. I mean, that just looked incredible because, I mean, wasn't that like one of like the – I mean, when was that again? Was that like one of the years they clinched, but they haven't done it in like a long time before that?
So, yeah, they went in 2007 as a wild card team. Yeah. They went in 2008 as the NL Central champions.
Yep. Okay.
And that highlighted Kerry Wood getting the final out against the Cardinals. That was to clinch the NL Central in 2008. But the Cubs had gone a long time without back-to-back postseason experience.
Yep.
So that was significant about that moment. Not that they won the division again or that they were in the playoffs, but to do so in consecutive seasons had not happened in many, many decades. So that was significant. And, they clinched in 2007 on the road. They were in Cincinnati. But 2008, they got to do it at home at Wrigley, which was great because they got swept in 3 games by the Dodgers. And a 97-win team all of a sudden was done after about, 3 or 4 days.
And it's kind of similar to the 2019 Twins. 101 wins and getting bounced immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now, you do during the off season, you cover Big Ten basketball, and you do some small package of games. Mm-hmm. What's it like calling Gopher games? Mm-hmm. Is it do you feel the bias?
Is it hard to like hide bias like when you're covering like a Gopher game, or is it just kind of go away when you're in the moment?
It goes away because I didn't go to school there.
Right.
I obviously I live in town. I've got to know Coach Patino and the staff and the players because I see them. I love going to the barn. I love going to the barn for a conference game, especially. I've been spoiled that I've gotten to do the Minnesota-Wisconsin game at the barn. I think the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
and
those are great atmosphere.
That's one of the best.
It's bouncing in there. It's just crazy.
Oh, it's great. It's really fun to be at the barn for a Big Ten game. But the joy that I get the most out of is that I don't have to travel.
Yep.
And, that I can minimize my travel. So it's by choice that they throw me a handful of Gopher games. And I do that not because I have any fan towards Minnesota.
Yeah.
I just do it because it keeps me home. It keeps me from having to travel and be away from my wife and my kids when I do that enough during the summer.
But it also keeps you busy, though, during the off season. So you're not like sitting around going crazy.
So what I like about doing games other than – especially the Gophers. If I have to do, because I did some football too this past fall, and I had a blast doing it on FS1. But I like the fact that I'm doing teams and I have to prove myself to fan bases that do not know me. Mm-hmm. Gopher fans, they connect me with the Twins and vice versa.
Yeah.
But if I'm doing Indiana against Rutgers, those are 2 fan bases that they don't know that I do the Twins or call Twins games. I have to prove myself that. I'm in your town for a day, maybe 2 days max, but I've done my research and I'm prepared to call this game, and I have to prove that over the 2 hour or 3.5 hour, 4 hour period, whatever the game is. So that to me is a fun challenge. I like proving myself to fan bases that don't know me for my full-time job.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know, moving on to the times, going back to like Twins baseball and when we actually had baseball. I mean, obviously you probably have a lot of memories. You probably have some of your best ones when calling games, but I want to highlight like that Joe Mauer's last game. And I think I saw it in a tweet that you had found out that like he was actually going to come in and catch late in the game, like in like the second inning, before like really anybody else knew about that. Is that true?
Well, I'm going to show you a couple of my little artifacts here.
Yeah.
So this is something that
Awesome.
This is a signed Joe Mauer picture,
That's
and this
so
is
cool.
When he came in there in the sorry, my earbud fell out. But when he came in there in the ninth inning, so I love that. Hang on, let me get your earbud.
Yeah, no
back
problem.
in. 1 second.
We've had our share of difficulties. It doesn't
Sorry.
compare to an earphone
There we
falling
go.
out.
So there's that, and then this was one of the lineup cards that the bench coach Derek Shelton gave me last year. This is when they retired Joe's number 7. And he signed this for me too. But you could see that the Mauer picture was printed too as part of the Twins lineup that day. So this was
Nice.
That was pretty cool. But the Mauer game to end 2018
Yep.
was just amazing. So we found out before the game. Maybe we found out in the second inning. We found out rather early.
Mm-hmm.
All we were told is that, hey, Joe is going to catch at some point, but you have to sit on it.
Oh, that's
And we're like,
tough.
okay, Joe's going to catch at some point. That's great. We didn't know how. We didn't know when. We didn't know how many pitches. We had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So we just kept thinking, and so I kind of had some fun with – so Joe's last at bat, he doubled to left center. I think it was in the 7th inning, maybe, 7th, 8th inning. So he's at second base. So in my mind, I know that he's still going to come into the game and catch. But I said on the air, I'm like, maybe this is the moment that Paul lifts Joe from the game for a pinch runner. Yeah. That maybe now – I said that knowing that wasn't going to happen because we were going to see him catch at some point. But I wanted to throw that idea out there just to make fans think a little bit and not show my hand. So I built that up like, hey, Joe doubled. It's pretty fitting, all-time leader in doubles in team history. It's a Joe Mauer double to left center that we've seen hundreds of times. Maybe this would be the ideal time to take him out. Obviously – it played out in just a wonderful way. And to see him on that field all by himself, and the White Sox were total class acts about, not having any issues with it. And it was a tight game. It was a 1-run game or a 2-run game at the time. But that drive home, I'll never forget it. It was just an emotional scene on the field. And, we were crying in the booth. Danny and I were both crying. And, TV, you can sit back and not say anything because you have the picture. Mm-hmm. But radio, you got to cover it. You got to tell people what's going on. And
you can't
break
down
because we're breaking down in the air. And even though we knew that it was going to happen, it still did not spoil reality. The moment was something that I'll never forget, and it'll stay with me forever to be a part of that moment that day. And if you saw it on TV, you listened on the radio, hopefully the significance, the drama, the emotion came through.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of memorable moments, I mean, I know you were covering Twins games when Gardenhire was still here a little bit. I know he tended to maybe lose his temper a couple of times. Do you have any crazy moments, Ron Gardenhire, when he maybe lost his temper or anything in any games?
I've been around some crazy managers. I mean, Lou Piniella, I was with him with the Cubs, and he was as wild as they get. Yeah. So, to see him when, Gardy almost seemed like a minor leaguer in terms of umpire behavior than compared to Lou. But, Gardy and Joe West always had an interesting relationship. I think there was respect, but there was a lot of dislike in there too. And there was one time when Gardy got thrown out by Joe West, and then the next time, later on that summer, Joe West behind the plate, and Gardy was going to come out to argue. And this is pre-replay, right? Yep. So this was something that's why you saw managers come out more. And Joe West said to him, "Do not come out on my dirt. Don't you dare come out in my dirt."
Oh, no.
And Gardy found, the grounds crew, a member of the grounds crew, and just grabbed some of that diamond dry they throw on the field when they need to dry it down a little bit. And so he came out, and he grabbed some of that diamond dry that was in a bag. And he came out to argue and slammed that down and said, "Fine, I came out, and this is my dirt. I'm coming out to argue because this is my dirt, not your dirt." Yeah. And he got thrown out. But I thought that whenever Joe West or the late Wally Bell, those two would have those two umpires to me stood out, that you could expect some confrontation. You don't see that, again, with replay, you don't see that as much anymore. Check swings, still the strike zone is going to lead to a confrontation, but the tag plays, safe, out, all that stuff, you don't really see that anymore because we go to replay as often as we do.
Right. Who is the notorious Cardinals manager just in the last decade, or was that LaRussa?
Tony LaRussa? Yeah, LaRussa, sure.
I don't know if you heard this, but I don't know if it's 100% true, but I heard of stories where he'd be yelling at the ump or something like that. On TV it looked bad, but in reality he was saying, like, how the hell are you? And he'd be like, good. Oh, I'm good. And he would just be – I heard that. I don't know if that's true or if there's any truth to it.
Oh,
but
there have been times where managers will get thrown out. They'll do so on purpose, and it'll start like – they'll be screaming in his face like, you know what? You got to throw me out. I got to get kicked out. But they're not really mad.
Wow.
They just act all animated. That stuff does happen. Absolutely.
Wow.
There are times when managers, they just want to get thrown out.
Yeah.
And they just wake up that day. They're angry. They're bitter. The team's playing lousy. That they're going to try to spark their team. And they figure that, you know what? Getting ejected from a baseball game might be a way to ignite a team's run. And so, sure, that stuff happens all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, Cory, I want to talk about the upcoming season a little bit, if and when it happens. I know Twins fans, they get grumpy, we'll call it, with us not signing top-caliber pitchers. In my opinion, I think they went out and they got two solid options at the end of their rotation. That's going to really solidify it. I just want to hear your thoughts on our rotation coming up this season.
Man, I love the moves. I was surprised with the Donaldson move because I got the sense that they were all in on starting pitching. That starting pitching was going to be their A topic, their priority as they were starting out to build for 2020. But we have to remember, too, is that it always comes back to the Twins. They're this. They never signed that. We rarely ever hear from the player. Maybe the player doesn't want to come here. Maybe the player has family ties that they want to keep him from where he's at, where he lives, where he's from, where teams train in spring training. That's a big difference. So we never really hear that part of it. You know, we all think as Twins fans that, boy, everybody's going to want to come here. Not everybody does want to come here. So the Twins, I think they've gotten better, and the game has gotten better. I mean, look at the money the Twins paid Kevin Correa and Ricky Nolasco. Those were bad contracts. That was money that in a different era made no sense. These guys were average, some below average pitchers making obscene money. The game has gotten better because it's gotten away from that. Your average pitcher is getting maybe a 1-year deal. He's not getting a 4-year deal like the Twins gave Nolasco. That's a killer. It's a terrible deal. The Phil Hughes extension was a bad play. You know, the first contract Phil signed was fine. He had that great first year in 2014. And then after that, it was terrible. You know, he was hurt, but he also didn't perform well, and they still had to pay him all that money. The game has gotten better at getting away from that. So Donaldson, the idea that they were going to sign this impactful bat and move Miguel to first base, I didn't see it. I really did not see it. You know, the Homer Bailey, Rich Hill, I thought good signings. They're low risk. You know, they're low risk. They made a play for Zach Wheeler, but again, he wanted to stay out east from where his family's at. Okay, Madison Bumgarner, he's got horses in Arizona. Probably didn't want to leave, you know, his fun, whatever he likes to do on the side there. So we never hear that side of it because I think the Twins have gotten away from A, the small market tax they would have to pay, and B, the non-competitive tax. They're competitive. They're a good team. They shouldn't have to overpay to get like an average pitcher, throw on extra dollars, extra years, like they had to do, you know, not too long ago, 8-9 years ago.
Now, do you think I know that you obviously have the big guys, you know, like Donaldson and, you know, Rosario, some of those guys that are obviously, I think, going to have, you know, good years. I mean, whenever baseball starts up again. But do you have like a player that is kind of under the radar right now for the Twins that you could see coming up and having a great season?
I think Kepler last year, he showed us that he's a blossoming all-star. I think Kepler is going to be a powerful player in this game. You could see it coming. You'd see little spurts of it, but Max, really up until last year, he would fade. He'd have decent starts, then get really hot, but then the last month and a half, his numbers would plummet. And I think he just was not used to playing as much baseball as he needed to. And I think he changed his training, and he's just gotten so much stronger. And the fact that he put together that kind of year When you saw him maybe in 18, you would see glimmers of it. You'd see little bursts of, okay, I get it. And then, boom, put that together last year and was really, really good. I still think Buxton is one of my favorite players to watch in the game. The pitchers hate when I say this, but there's nothing I enjoy more than seeing a ball to the gap and seeing the fastest man of the game go get it. I love watching him play. And I'm curious to see if he's going to change the way that he plays with not the shoulder injury, but he's had concussion issues. He's got migraines. But this was going to be a football player. If he didn't go pro, he's going to play defense at the University of Georgia. And that's where he was going with his career if he wasn't the second overall pick that he was all those years ago. So, Byron's an amazing talent. I really like him as a person, too. That's the fan in me that there's nothing diva about Byron Buxton. This guy is work ethic, and, he's earned it. And now I just want to see him put it together for an extended period of time because he's a really special, unique talent.
Yeah, I know a lot of people a lot of fans seem to kind of hate on Byron, too, for how injury-prone he's been and he's just now kind of being a waste of whatever. And I just 100% disagree. I think the guy is a stellar player and it still has a lot to prove here or a lot to do here in Minnesota. So, well, I know we're getting close to wrapping this up, Cory, but we want to do our signature 10,000 takes rapid fire segment where we ask you some hypothetical, crazy, would you rather questions. And are you ready to go?
Sure, shoot.
Awesome. All right, so number one, would you rather spend the rest of your life blind or in an Olive Garden?
Olive Garden.
There you go. If you were given an all-expenses-paid trip to Cleveland, would you take it?
Yeah. I love Cleveland. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Tom Hamilton.
Yeah.
That's two things, yeah.
Perfect. You've actually given us more reasons, though, than a lot of people just say yes and don't explain. They're like, yeah, why not?
You got Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You got my favorite, one of my buddies, Tom Hamilton, voice of the Indians. Love him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good guy out there.
They have a little Italy too in Cleveland, which is also very good. Good food.
Nice. We got an advocate for Cleveland here. That's perfect.
I like Cleveland.
Yeah. Is it pronounced hot dish or casserole?
Hot dish, right?
Yeah. I mean,
you have to say that here in Minnesota, right?
Some people call it casserole. You'd be surprised.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. It's weird. If a movie was made about your life, who would play you?
Oh boy. Well, I was a kid. I'd say Macaulay Culkin.
Okay.
From Home Alone.
Yep.
But not him now. You know what? No. Why not Ryan Reynolds? Go big.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
I can see it, Cory. I can see it.
Yeah, sure. We look alike.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Same physique and everything. It's great.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Would you rather have the head the size of a tennis ball or the size of a watermelon?
I tennis ball. I don't want the big old Bruce Bochy kind of big old noggin that wears like a 10-size hat. No, I don't need that. No.
The first person to say tennis ball.
Yeah, honestly, I think so too. But you have a damn good reason for it. Minneapolis or St. Paul?
Oh, I like them. But St. Paul is sneaky good food, man.
Yes.
I live in the West Metro, but our favorite restaurant in town is in St. Paul. I mean, I like Minneapolis is where I live.
Right.
So I'm going to say Minneapolis. Yeah.
In self-defense, in a self-defense situation, how many fifth graders could you fend off at one time?
None right now.
Okay.
Zero.
Okay.
Zero. But that's why I have this, and I called Dan Gladden.
Yeah, right?
Dan will take care of him in 1 minute. It'd be great. Boom.
There we go. Would you rather wear a shirt that's kind of itchy or a pair of shoes with a small pebble in it?
Itchy shirt.
It's a popular answer. What's more realistic, ghosts or aliens?
Aliens.
There you go. Okay. You have one, and this might be obvious, but I don't know. You have one sport to watch the rest of your life. What is it?
I mean, I love baseball. I mean, I love baseball. To me, it's to me, it's a game that makes a lot of sense. It's that line from Bull Durham. You catch the ball, you hit the ball, and you run. I mean, that's really it. I mean, it's not easy, but I just think, and I think there's something to it about you don't have to be this freak of a figure to play baseball.
No.
You don't have to be 7 feet. You don't have to be 6'4" and cut and weigh 240 pounds, have ridiculous speed, ridiculous strength. I mean, there's a lot of dudes with bad bodies that have good baseball careers that you would see him, at the beach. I'm like, there's no way that's a baseball player.
Like
but
Prince
they
Fielder, maybe?
I mean, he was a strong – I was around
yeah.
him, man. That dude is a tank. Yeah. But, I mean, there's some – I mean, look at Fernando Valenzuela. Great career. He's a great pitcher.
Yeah.
And he didn't have this amazing body. You look at that. but the guy could pitch, and the guy had talent. Bartolo Colon,
Yeah,
big
sex.
sex. Look at that guy, man. You see that guy walking around town, you would think that guy is this amazing athlete who's had this legendary career. So there's something to it about baseball that I go back to, and you can be this sort of average Joe and still succeed.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Cory. We've unfortunately run out of time here, but honestly, whenever baseball gets back up, make sure to tune in Twins Radio Network. Listen to Cory Provus. Excellent at your job and calling games, you and Dan Gladden. But thanks again, Cory, for coming on.
You got it, guys. Enjoyed it, and best of luck to you, and thanks for what you're doing this weekend. It sounds great.
Yeah, and I'll keep you posted on the shirt situation.
Yeah, please do. I like those shirts very much.
Yeah, thanks,
All
Cory.
right, guys, take care.
Bye.
See ya.